Alright, and start. Okay. Today's gonna be a little bit of a different type video. Yeah. So yeah, today I'm just gonna purely do like a study. Да что за происходит? Today I'm just gonna do like a study on basically a bunch of different things. And see what works, what doesn't, right? This is just purely like a practice thing, right? I did something of the like here, right? But I didn't record it, so I just need to basically redo that. And I also want to try to figure out clothing a little bit because I don't know how it works. I figured out screen tones here, if you can see, and I'm very happy about that. I There's a bunch of other things I kind of need to figure out, but like I'm just basically trying to like kind of get down a certain style of doing things and trying to figure out how I can do it all. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So one of the big things that bothers me, right, is the fact that my heads are kind of. I should explain it. They don't have the right shape, right? And one of the things about it is that like I don't think they're really square enough, right? So like if I was to say, for example, right, just kind of outline this kind of like not square exactly, but more square-ish type shape, right? And just outline that, right? Maybe kind of more like that and like that. And I kind of want to have more of there, I guess, right? And just kind of like have it less rounded. So I don't like this. I want this to be a little bit straighter. Because yeah, basically my issue that I have been struggling with is basically not understanding rounding things up too much is what I think my big problem is, and I will basically just like be testing how much that is true. I sort of liked how this turned out, and I kind of got carried away with the screen tones here, and I kind of overdid them, I think, a little bit. So I'm gonna also try and see how I can work them out, how I can like use them more. So yeah, hopefully it's gonna be a lot more laid back than what I usually do. I kind of heard a certain bit of advice of basically trying to outline planes the on various parts of the body, right? So like trying to make sure that you like have all this stuff kind of lined out in a way. I used to do this a lot more, and then I kind of stopped, and then oh my goodness, what is that? There we are. Yeah. Also, by the way, you might notice that I have a slightly different looking model, right? This is the same program. It's just what's it called? I played around with some things, and I realized I could just like do a model more like this instead of having it all red, because this gives me more understanding of like what direction everything is going in and like how everything actually looks rather than but okay, long and short, it gives me I understand this model a whole lot better when I'm trying to draw something than the other one. So I'll probably use this more often now. And then basically kind of going off of this, right? Hold on, give me a minute. Yeah, basically kind of going off of this, I kind of want to see like what I can draw. Yeah. So, okay, so basically what we're kind of working with here is a general facial structure. I'm gonna lower everything's opacity here. Basically, if I want to work with that, I kind of want to go kind of here and then like kind of like that out for the cheek, and then kind of go back like this, and then go back kind of like this, and like that. And then see how that works out, because that has a significantly more kind of square feel to it, which I feel like is going to work out for me a little bit better. I don't know if I like these sharp angles as much as I thought I did. And then that's the head bit here. Do. So yeah, and here's the skeleton bit, kind of, right? I don't know if I want to be super precise about all of it. So if I just kind of, what's that? No. Kind of just to hammer in where all this goes. Right. And then, yeah, so I basically kind of just kind of go here. Like that, and like that. And yeah, that's basically all I kind of truly need for the bone bit. Everything else I feel like I can just intuit. So here, right, that's the trapezius, but I don't want to start with outlining that fully. I'm going to first start with these neck muscles here, which kind of go like that, and then like that. And then here, here, and actually these need to be thicker. Here, and then like that. And then this is just kind of how the trapezius goes, give or take. And then we have our deltoid. Here, and then we have our other part of the deltoid right here, and then we have our bicep going like that, and like that, and like that. And then, yeah, here we have, whoops, that's an alarm. Oh, actually, speaking of, I need to really quickly do one small thing. Alright, sorry about that. Thing is, I would edit all this out. I mean, I would edit a bunch of things out, like what I was just doing there. And the issue with that is, because these videos get a little bit long, it takes me like 3 hours to not edit. Like, all the edits are very simple, like just cutting something out. It's not that hard, right? The issue is when I have to basically go into editing software, upload the video to there, and then get it back from there, get an edited video back from there, and that takes an insanely long time, and I still haven't figured out how to use, like, YouTube has something of its own that it uses for editing videos, like it has its own video editing thingy, but I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to make it work for me properly. So for now, I'm stuck with using other softwares. I don't like that. I don't want to go too far on the bones because, frankly speaking, they don't actually make up the forms that I'm trying to make here. So yeah, here is the pectoralis. Give me a minute. I need to remember what goes on the bottom of the arm because I don't draw that as often. I think this might be like too much, but I don't know. Brilliant. Okay, so. Oh boy, that's annoying. Hold on. Allow me to think about this. Okay, so here we are, something along these lines, and then these lines, and then something like that. And then there's something also here that kind of goes like this, and there's somebody kind of in between that goes like that, and then it's kind of sort of like this. Very detailed. And then kind of like that-ish. And then for the forearm, I'm just not even going to bother with all the muscles because there's a ton of them, and like 90% of them don't give us anything at all. So I'm just gonna. Let me just. I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. This is horrible. Hold on. Give me a minute. Just referencing off myself. Give me a minute. Okay, I need to just reference my own arm really quickly. Okay, so if it's turned like this, right, then basically a lot of our... Okay, first of all, this isn't wrong. This is completely wrong in that case, right? What this needs to be is this needs to be kind of like that, and then it kind of goes down here, and then kind of like that. That's this bit, right? And then this other side bit here kind of goes kind of like this, and then it also kind of sort of starts out here, but then there's an elbow that kind of goes here, right? And just in general, there should be kind of like a spiral motion, a spiral feel throughout this entire thing, kind of like that. This isn't going to be in the final bit, but it's just kind of to get me to understand what exactly it is I'm doing here. Yeah, because for example, this part of the wrist and kind of goes with this part of the hand, and it should feel like it's kind of twisting over like that. I need to somehow figure out how to create that effect. I feel like this might do it a little bit better. Like that, and then this wrist bit kind of goes kind of here-ish, right? And then here's the thumb pad and stuff. Wait, no, that's not how a thumb pad looks. Hold on. My bad. That's not how that looks. It's more like this. But this isn't really what I'm doing necessarily. Just I'll figure this out. Figure out. I'll leave that for later, and then this will kind of be like this, and then like this, right? I don't know if I particularly like this, because I feel like this is too thick for this being too thin. So maybe if I add like a little bit more here. I think that might do stuff. I think that might add a little bit better. That makes it a little bit better, but I don't know if it's necessarily perfect. How does it look on this model? So first of all, on this model, literally everything is a lot thicker. I don't know how I keep ending up with that. So how these elbows aligned, and I think it's because mine is curving down a little bit where it kind of shouldn't be really. So yeah, like this stuff being thinner than the model is fine. It doesn't actually matter, but like this kind of curving down is what I don't really like. Cause okay, I can figure this out. It's fine. First of all, this kind of needs to go like this, and if we kind of maybe get rid of this bit here, like that. Something feels off. I'll figure it out. It doesn't have to be perfect here. I'll let it live. But yeah. Here it is. All right. Perfect. Okay, so we have a basic human body figure thing. Okay, let me just separate out the head and the body. That can actually go away entirely. That doesn't actually matter anymore. This goes under the head bit. Why is this an object layer? I don't understand. Alright, well, it doesn't matter. And then all of this is going to go into the body layer. So this, and this, do, and do. Alright, perfect. Alright, so head layer. I need to think about eyes. So how would I do eyes? What's going on? Let me just think about this. Okay, well, I mean, if I just kind of like brute force the eyes, I guess. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. The issue with doing an eye like this is that it's really small. Let me once again look at the models, because actually these have very, like, this specific version of the model actually has a very amazing thing for this, where you can basically just outline this bit, right? And then I can outline this bit. And then, okay, so the only issue with that is that this bit of the cheek needs to be a little bit lower in that case. So if I was to do that, here, and then this kind of needs to go a little bit more like that. I don't know if I like that. That'll be fine. Alright, turn down the opacity. Turn these off entirely. And then I just need to get to work. So if I was to think about something along maybe like these-ish lines. Here, do. Here, give or take. Right, and then I want to kind of go like that. And then I go sort of like this. Here, like that. And I kind of have the second one going out here, so actually I might want to erase this. And then I'm going to go here. Right. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I've been thinking about maybe at some point trying live streaming. Because I feel like what I'm doing is literally live streaming without the live bit. Like, nothing would change at all. But, like, I feel like maybe it might be a better idea to do this in live stream format. Just because I'd probably, like, feel a little bit better about doing that. But the issue with live streaming is that it might take a little bit more out of my computer and my network. I don't know if I know how to do that necessarily in, like, a safe way. And especially because I am moving in a bit, I need to be a little bit conscious of what a university dorm network can accomplish. So yeah, I'll figure that out definitely eventually, but yeah. I mean, let me know what you think, I guess. da, 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 da. I don't like that. I feel like that nose isn't curved enough. Here we go. That gives more of a confident and that inspires a little bit more confidence in me. I think this face is too low in general. It might do me some good, maybe bringing it up slightly. Oh, I don't know. Something's wrong with this. I don't know what it is. Because I remember when I did this, I basically just free drew this. Like, why is this better? I feel this is maybe too bottom heavy of a facial structure, and this doesn't really look correct. Let me try and just play around with the facial structure and see what I can do. So I think that probably needs to go back down there, and then I just need to play around with this a little bit. Perhaps something like that, and then something like this, maybe? Okay, so one of the things that I'm not liking about this is, well, what is it? What is it? Something that I don't... I need specifics. If I want to work with... I know if I want to work something out here, I need specifics. Right. One of the things that I'm not liking about this is... Okay, let me just add a little bit of detail to these eyes to maybe have a more ironclad perspective on what's going on. I think something's wrong with this eye specifically. Yeah, I think they're too far apart is what I don't like. So if I was to... Where's the eye there? Okay, here it is. If I was to basically take this tool and then I was to just kind of shift it slightly more like this, perhaps I'd like it more. Okay, but then I have to shift this entire thing, so I have to like shift it a little bit in terms of like making it more like this. I'm gonna have it here. Okay. So this is 1, this is 2. Like that, and then I feel like maybe that's better. Okay, this person looks cross-eyed. That's not correct. It's not only going for... These eyes are very thin, but I don't think that's necessarily that big of an issue. Okay, let me just try again and detail them a little bit more, see if anything else comes up. Okay, another thing that's coming up, definitely, right? This face is kind of giving me a little bit of this plane, whereas this face is kind of more in this plane. So they're not exactly aligning. So I am thinking, what layer did I do this on? Yeah, I can delete that. So basically I need to think of a way to like kind of shift that whole thing. So I think what I may need to do is I may need to once again take out this pupil, and I think this eye is fine as long as I take out the pupil, and I'll figure it out later. Right? What I need to do is I need to somehow bring this kind of out of the page. Right? Kind of bring it out and like forward towards us a little bit. See how that works out. That's too small. I need to make it bigger. Something like that. Maybe. That makes the eye feel too flat. But overall, I think it's the right idea. I think the nose might be a little bit kind of out of place here. What if I move this entire face a little? Yeah, I'm thinking this is actually not that bad. As long as I figure this out a little bit. Okay, something's wrong, because like literally yesterday when I didn't record, I got this down so much better. I'm like, first try. How in the world? Why isn't this working now? Oh, this is so annoying. I think that's better. I think that's a little bit better. I don't know if that's particularly like perfect necessarily, but I do think it's better to the point where I can accept it probably for now. One of the things that I definitely did do yesterday was be significantly less harsh on myself. So maybe if I try doing that here, I might be able to be a little bit better. Hopefully. Okay, but now this face kind of has this feel to it. I don't know why. It's because of this bit here. So I may want to kind of extend it out. I think it's, yeah, once again, a head shape issue. So if I was to maybe extend this out just a little bit. Here, and then kind of go like that. And to kind of get that more square feel to it. Just ever so slightly take that off. Yeah, I'm thinking that looks decent. Yeah, something like that. And then now I need to add eyebrows. I'm thinking just making them black just to make them a little bit more intuitive to draw for me. Yeah. See, the thing about heads is that they also have very distinct planes, so they're kind of like very thin, tall boxes. Think of them a little bit, right? And you can kind of like fit a, if correctly drawn, like a skull into there, kind of, sort of. And then it kind of goes here, and then it goes doop, 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 doop. And then, wait, hold on. I have an entire reference right next to my desk. Here, and then there's kind of like here, and then teeth, right? And like it kind of should fit. It's like this should kind of fit in one plane, sort of, and then this should kind of fit in one plane. So what I'm essentially should be drawing is kind of like this, and then like this. And the thing is, the head is a lot more square than it is kind of circular in a way, if you think about it, right? Well, again, its profiles are a lot like straighter than you think. Like they're not like, okay, so you don't make a face kind of like this, right? Because this is a very extreme profile, like that. And I think that's kind of what I've been doing. I think my like side profile like here has been a little bit too extreme. I need to somehow think about taking that out. Oh no, I kind of like that skeleton. Oh, that's unfortunate. All right. Well. Do 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 do. Okay. Yeah. And now I just need to quickly add in some hair, and then I'm just gonna. Oh wow, that took me 30 minutes to do. Wow, okay. I'm just gonna add some hair, and then think about maybe starting out the clothes and see how I can figure them out. Because okay, so the thing about clothes is that there's something fundamental about them that I don't understand, right? And I don't know exactly what that is, right? So the thing is, back in the day, before I studied anatomy, I had no clue what I was drawing when it came to the when it came to the human body. Like basically, I would just draw like a face, right, and then I would just kind of draw a neck, and then do that, and then, wow, here's my human body. It's so incredibly accurate and amazing, right? And the reason why I did that is because I didn't actually know what I was doing, right? And because of that, right, I basically have a lot of drawings that are fundamentally misunderstanding what in the world it is that's happening with what I'm like trying to portray, right? I'm actually gonna maybe like do this a little bit happier, or maybe kind of like no. Something like that. I feel like that smells a little bit terrifying. I'll change it later. Where's the hair layer again? There it is. Perfect. Incredible. Yeah. Alright, so here. Nope, that's another alarm. Okay, I'm drawing the hair too messily. I should not be doing that. I want to just kind of... It needs to be more... It needs to be smoother and more clean. Actually, I'm going to tie it up a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit more kind of like maybe here or something. Like that, and maybe like kind of here like that or something. Nah. What's a good hairstyle? Oh, okay, I need to think about something. Oh, what would be a good hairstyle that I can think of? Like maybe, like kind of like I have here, like. Be kind of more like that in that case. I don't know if I like that for this character. I'll just give this person kind of shortish hair. Here. Okay, yeah, this is definitely terrifying. I need to figure that out. And then let me just quickly take out the head bit. That's in the way here a little bit. So and let me just do the ear really quickly. So here, do. Here, like that, and then here, no. Here, here, like that. No, wait, hold on. Let's do something like probably along these lines or something. See how that plays out. I feel like this needs to get filled in, but not necessarily like that. Maybe kind of like this, and then like this. No. I don't like that at all. Okay, no, that sucks. That's horrible. Maybe like look up how this can be done. Okay, so what I'm kind of seeing done is here. Wait, no, hold on. Okay, so it kind of, it's not, this doesn't reach all the way down, but it kind of goes a little bit, and then there's kind of line one here, and then there's a thinner line that goes kind of from here to here to here to here, and then just fill that in, and then there's and then there's actually a thicker line over there, but it's covered by the hair in this case. All right, yep, I like how that looks. That's fine. It's better. I don't like this gap though. I'll figure it out. You know what? I'll live with it. Okay, I don't like this mouth at all. Hold on. Do, and then here, and then do. Go kind of like that. Kind of give it a feel of actually more like do, like an S shape, right? And then kind of go here like that, and then here like that, and then no, just think perhaps something like that. Yeah, it's better. All right, I'll live with that. Okay, so yeah, now I want to move on to the clothing and see what I can do with that. All right, so studying clothes, right, is basically about figuring out what basic cloths do. Let me just basically, right, the way it's been explained to me, right, is that you just kind of have to understand how fabric bends, right? But I mean, obviously, I don't know how that works. So, like, basically, if you have just a normal bit of fabric, just kind of hanging, right, just gonna hang down like that, right? If it's like kind of hanging from all points, right, every single point along this line. If it's hanging from 2 points, right, then what's gonna happen is it's gonna sag a little bit. So the force is kind of gonna be kind of going like this, right? So it'll be kind of more maybe like that, right? And then so that gets out, and then because that is hanging like that, right? This should in theory go a little bit inward. So this should in theory go a little bit inward. And then The other thing that should happen is that this bottom bit should sag a little bit as well. And then I'm guessing that there should be kind of maybe something sort of like this in between. But this is purely a guess. I don't know if this is the case. And it should still kind of angle back to those original contact points, because basically all folds have to basically kind of angle towards them, I think. No, I don't think that. Actually, no, I don't think this is true. Let me think about how would cloth sag from 2 points. Okay, so of the stuff that I am seeing, right, this is a really weird thing. Oh my goodness, why is it so hard to find? Why? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So actually, no. Okay, so I was actually wrong about this here. So maybe that's not correct, because I'm not seeing that really reflect in reality too much. So I guess this should still kind of sort of be hanging down, right? But it's kind of only hanging down up to a certain point, right? So it's only hanging down up to like kind of here. What's going on? There it is. Up to kind of a certain point, right? And then what's going on is that there's kind of a drop, right? Where this actually comes in. I need to make that a little bit lower for this example. There's kind of a drop that goes kind of all the way to here, right? And this drop is kind of characterized by a whole bunch of kind of like V lines, if you will. So like that, and then like that, right? And all these lines should actually go, so I actually drew them a little bit wrong. They should always go back to these contact points. So that was correct, I believe. So if I kind of angle them down like this, right? And then here like that, and then kind of sort of angle these down like that. And they don't have to all kind of go all the way up there, but like, I'm just doing that so that I get it to the correct point. Sort of like that. Not perfect, but it's kind of what I'm seeing when it comes to this. And these folds also do kind of go out, so they kind of sag this way, and then okay, actually I need to think about this a little bit in a little bit more three-dimensionally. Right, so I need to basically kind of consider that, for example, this, right, should in theory kind of go from here to here, right, and then with this side being the shady bit, right, and then this goes from here to here with this side being the shady bit. It should be more like that, because this stuff is obviously three-dimensional. So I guess kind of sort of like that. So yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, okay, now I find something that's actually a perfect reference for me. Great. But yeah, I guess it's really, yeah, it's more of the same thing. What I am seeing on a reference that I'm definitely liking a lot better, right, is that these, it's not necessarily these always, right? It could be just, like if I was to erase some of this here, right? The basic shape is still the same, right? Where this stuff is kind of just hanging off. And so like it's kind of like hanging off because it's kind of more directly hanging from this rather than at an angle, right? So this bit of the cloth and this bit of the cloth follow slightly different physics than this whole thing. But what I'm seeing is kind of more kind of just lines coming out of these points, right? But not necessarily connecting to each other, right? Connecting to each other happens, what I assume is basically with the fabrics that I saw, they were all a lot heavier, like curtains, right? So I imagine that's probably a reason why that's the case. Something like that. And then obviously this stuff isn't necessarily flat. Like it can be, again, for like heavier stuff, but for more lighter fabrics it's kind of more wavy. Okay. Huh. Alright, well, I hope that's gonna help me. I don't know if that necessarily... Thing is, I don't feel like that's like the crux of the matter. Like there's something that I'm not seeing that's like way more like global about this, right? Like thing is, I have no issues spending hours on end studying some random aspect of something, right? Like I've spent insane amounts of time studying anatomy, right? Like I don't mind studying if need be. What the issue is that I don't necessarily know what to necessarily study, because like this right here, I feel like it's probably helpful, right? And it helps in the sense that, okay, so if we were to consider clothes, right? Let's consider just kind of like a basic t-shirt, like kind of what I usually draw on the comic thingy, right? If we were to consider a basic t-shirt, then what would be the contact points? The contact point, we have one contact point here, right? One contact point here, definitely, right? Because the shoulder, basically, technically speaking, this entire plane up here, there's a whole thing here, right? Because basically, your collarbones and your scapula, right? They kind of outline a plane kind of here. Think of it kind of like a little bit more... I think it'd be like a trapezoid here, right? A trapezoid here. And then they kind of outline a whole plane that there's no real contact points. Like, it's not really like this, where there's only like 1 point and 1 point. Because like this 1 point would be like if you had like a finger here. And then like a finger here, right? Maybe like 2 fingers, like with a thumb. This, not the greatest drawing of fingers that I've ever done, but you know, you get the point, right? The issue here is that it's kind of more on a plane. It's not necessarily, you can't necessarily, I don't know, can you simplify this down to a point? Let me think. Well, actually, because the shoulder's extended, actually, there's actually an even larger plane now because of that, and it kind of sags, and then there's actually, so when it comes to the hand, there's actually, the sleeves, sorry, there's a plane here that it's kind of resting on, and it's kind of sort of resting on itself here, right? I guess, and then there's kind of sort of a resting plane like this, but it's angled, obviously, on this side, because, well, the arm is angled, right? So this is kind of, this isn't going to be the most effective thing, but it will still provide an upward force to make sure to keep the fabric up. Yeah, and then there's also the issue of basically this chest, right? It goes out kind of like this, right? And if I'm drawing a woman, especially, this is going to be especially true. There's going to be basically kind of a plane kind of going. Essentially, think of it kind of like that as well for cloth. All right, let me just kind of outline this in terms of planes, and where everything is going to be resting, and see if that helps. I'm probably not going to get to screen tones. I realize now, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, okay, so if I was to consider that, so how does fabric act? On a plane, right, if we were to basically get like a table, right, or a box, doesn't matter, right, and we were to put just a piece of cloth on the box, it's going to be just kind of flat, right? But if we were to kind of put it on the box and then kind of hang it off of it, right? Then if you've ever seen those like what's it called, those TikToks or whatever of like the Blender simulations of fabric kind of hanging off. It kind of sort of, okay, so if I remember correctly, it kind of sort of hangs off in sort of this fashion like that, and then kind of like that, and then like that. So the sharp corners, which don't exist on the human body, so I don't actually need to simulate them that much, create these kinds of like thingies here. I guess that's kind of similar to these contact points, creating more direct hanging bits here, right? What's going on out there? My goodness. Everything okay? Something in the neighbor's yard, I think. I don't know what that is. I think it's just the dogs yapping at each other's probably. What's going on? Hope it's fine. Okay. But I think I'm getting something wrong. So I think, so the general shape of the fabric is kind of like this. And then the... Yeah, there's basically should be a bunch of stuff hanging off here, and that's because this stuff is actually going to be a lot more wavy, and all these waves are going to produce their own folds. I think, right? Let me get an image of a tablecloth. Tablecloth. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, so I was right about these thingies. Yeah, what I need to kind of consider... Yeah, okay, so yeah, I think I was mostly right about this. So yeah, and then these folds, they can be more kind of like triangular like that, give or take. Because what happens is, right, think of these, if we were to think of these folds as curtains, right? Here, they go up like this, up like this, up like this. But then they kind of go all up to, what do they do? Why are they like that? So they kind of go up kind of like this. And then, so this might be a darker plane, and this might be a lighter plane. Something along these lines. I'm not entirely certain how exactly that happens and how to determine this, but I guess it's something like that. So sharp corners produce this, but that's not particularly useful in clothing designed around the human body because that's not really what goes on. Let me think. Where would folds occur? Right. So folds would occur because cloth is sagging this way, sagging this way, sagging this way, sagging down like this, down like that, right? And then and also it's sagging down this way, but what's also happening here is that there's cloth gets bunched up here. It's like if it's like tucked in, for example, into someone's belt, right? Then the cloth's going to get bunched up here and it's going to push itself up a little bit like that. Oh, this is so much harder than I thought it'd be. I should not have waited until 9 p.m. to start this. This is going to be a pain. Can I make this into a multi-part thing? I don't want to do it all right now. I don't even know where I'd go from here. Okay, so, alright, what I'm kind of getting is basically this here would, with a thin enough cloth, would kind of hang off like this. Okay, that's a very short sleeve, but it's fine. Okay, if it hangs off like this, right, and it kind of hangs off like this and also hangs off here as well. So I need to kind of account for that And then I think here somewhere is where we would see this bit, maybe. And it would kind of sort of sag like this, and then like that, and then basically let's consider, let's say light's coming from this way, from this way. Then let's consider this to be kind of a darker plane. Let's consider this to be a darker plane. This is, by the way, me just trying to do this thing. And then I think this would be a darker plane up to a point, and then it kind of rounds off. Yeah, okay. So I think that's something. If I was to take off a bunch of these layers, and then even if I was to take off, yes. So yeah, I don't think that looks terrible, I guess. I do like these waves quite a bit. I don't necessarily know if this is enough. I think this is a very basic bit of the fabric. Okay, yeah, you know what? I can actually just keep these like plain basics like that, and then trying to see if I can use them kinda to my advantage. Ooh, I didn't consider this plane. Oh, that's an issue. Ooh, because basically in that case, right, what's gonna actually happen is, it's not gonna change things drastically because it's such a low angle, right? But what is gonna happen, purely physics-wise, is it's gonna kind of sort of affect things and take all of these folds in this direction a little bit. I think, right? And then what's going on like this? Something's wrong with that. Hold on. Oh yeah, because this is not the dark plane. This is the dark plane. Yep, there. Yeah, and so it should kind of more go up kind of like that, and then like that. It's because basically these folds are first getting drawn by this force and then by this force. I guess, and then basically, yeah, this one would also kind of fold in this direction as well. So would hold this here. Yeah, nice. Okay, yay, perfect. Yeah, this is just me working with very short sleeves because what I'm not even considering is this elbow fold that exists here. That's gonna suck because basically what's gonna happen there is there's gonna be, because basically the only reason why clothing stays up like all the way up to here in like a long sleeve shirt is because basically it's on top of other clothing that's on top of other clothing that's on top of other clothing. It's basically holding itself up. And then sort of kind of, because this is at a slight angle, it sort of also kind of leans on the arm. Obviously it doesn't hurt, right? Obviously cloth is going to slide down more the more vertical your arm is, but at a certain point it's not going to slide down because it's just like on top of itself. And the issue with that is that's going to be a nightmare of folds. I don't know how to do that. Oh no. Okay, well, that's going to be next time, because I definitely don't know how to do that just yet. I'm going to have to consult with a bunch of people that know this a lot more than I do. I can basically, this is about my limit when it comes to understanding cloth. And basically what I can kind of do is I can basically, okay, so if we were to consider the clothing here, it would maybe sort of kind of, I made this plane too small. It actually should be a lot bigger. Because the human chest goes out, not forward. So, hold on. What it actually should be, hold on, is... Where's the planes? Yes, there. What it actually should be is it should be kind of like trapezoidal, where it should be kind of like this, almost. Pretty sure. Again, I could be wrong. By no means is this some sort of authoritative, like, I know what I'm doing type study. as you can probably tell by the fact that I kind of changed my mind a bunch of times about this. Like, I don't actually know any of this stuff, that's why I'm trying to learn it, but yeah. I don't know if I should have recorded this, to be honest, because I feel like this might have been better done on my own, and then, like, just kind of maybe explained in a way, like, maybe I, like, film an explanation video, just kind of, like, showing what I've learned, rather than doing this off the bat. Alright, okay. I think... Is that too much? I think this might be a little bit better. It might be more like that. Maybe. And then kind of sort of like that. Alright, so how this might work is this is going to... So yeah, this plane isn't really this sharp. It's obviously more rounded. But it kind of goes down like that. So maybe if I was to kind of sort of go kind of like this and like that. Perhaps. I guess. And then basically this here would be sort of kind of actually not this. It would be kind of like, where is it? It could be kind of basically this here happening here, but considering the fact this is a significantly lower angle, how would that change things? Would that change things at all, actually, is the question. Because basically, if we have to consider if this table was under an angle, would this cloth still hang off in this way? I think it... Okay, so basically here, right, the only reason why it's not purely hanging off of this, but just kind of only curving a little bit, is because it's more hanging off of this. There's nothing really else for the clothing to hang on to when it's here. Maybe I'm onto something here? I don't know. How long have I been doing? An hour? Oh my goodness. Okay. Alright, I'm going to probably just do this part and then I'm going to stop. So, it should kind of sort of hang off like this in a way that kind of maybe gives shadows to here, right? But what it should kind of do is it maybe should hang off like this. Maybe it can go back, I think. Ooh, wait, hold on. Would it at all maybe fold like in the tablecloth example? I don't know. Does it? Hold on. I mean, I can just check. I think it depends on the tightness. How tight this fabric is on the person. Ooh. I guess it might a little. Maybe? I don't know. Okay, but yeah, the thing is, the any folds that get up to here, right? They're gonna be kind of folded up in this way, right? But obviously they're not going to be entirely that way because there's you have to also consider the fact there's stuff that hangs like this, essentially, and it hangs kind of like up like that. I think it's going to be important to kind of consider here. So this plane kind of maybe it diverts stuff that would normally go straight to the shoulder like that, kind of away from it and kind of like this maybe-ish way. Okay, I'm gonna have to consult someone on this, so I'm probably gonna leave it here. I hope you might have learned something. I don't know if you did. Yeah. But a lot of this is just basically kind of considering forces Allow me to just really quickly, just one. Um, but yeah, so basically a lot of this is just kind of like from what I'm kind of gathering from what I kind of did today, is a lot of this is just kind of understanding forces, which is, I mean, I'm like trying to go into engineering, so I hope this might be something that I can kind of figure out. But basically, whenever something is kind of hanging off here, sorry, here, right, it's getting force kind of like that, which is, yeah, yeah, it's basically, it's considering a bunch of forces, I feel like. And I know this is definitely somehow, like, calculable, right? You know, in, like, not, in a method that's not that hard. Like, it's not, this shouldn't be hard to do, from what I gathered, because I definitely see artists that are, I mean, obviously way more experienced than me, but definitely see artists that do this very naturally in like a way that feels very practiced, and like very intuitive, right? So there should be an intuitive way to do this. I don't feel like the forces are necessary, like the forces I'm thinking about are like necessarily intuitive, so there has to be a simpler way to do this, but I don't know it yet. And I mean, the thing is, I like how this one sleeve turned out. Basically, I don't know about this. I mean, if I turn off the planes, where are they? Here. I mean, I guess it's not terrible. I don't really know if I was. I think this bit is a little bit better than this because I don't really know what I was doing here. I think I was just not visualizing properly what's actually going on underneath. But yeah, I definitely have to research this a bunch. I need to consult some people. Maybe I'll do another study like this tomorrow, if I can. If I can't, then I will probably try something else. Try to just do something else. But yeah, thanks for watching my hour-long struggle against cloth. Yeah, bye.